news. I think that you get a break after me. So I understand the meaning of that. So I will be relatively brief. Listen, I'm also always want to thank Ralph Reed, and I want to thank Jason Williams, and I want to thank Joy Creasman for the work that they do putting this together. It is an enormous conference. I mean, how many places, how many conferences can you go to and get the category of speakers that you've had at this Faith and Freedom Conference, which, by the way, the road to the majority says it all. So I am glad to be a part of it, and for the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a break from politics. And I want to talk to you about truth and justice. Not that the two are necessarily mutually exclusive, but maybe they are. Maybe they are the way America is running today. But you know, Rome and America were not built in a day. Rome took, in fact, a long time to fall. America, on the other hand, unfortunately, is at a point of being lost in a single generation. Assuming that there are historians in the future who report honestly, they will look at our country during this time that we are living in and ask, how did she hit rock bottom so quickly? What happened to her values, those Judeo-Christian values, and what happened to truth and justice in America? How did America choose leaders like the Clintons and Obama and Joe Biden, who were draining the life out of a once exceptional nation, turning it into a socialist, anti-Christian, anti-police place? Now, I've been a prosecutor, a judge, and a DA for over 3 decades. Most of you know that. I've run for office 5 times. And I have spent my life in the trenches fighting good and evil where that unfolds every day. But every day in this country, someone becomes a victim of a crime. They didn't do anything, they didn't ask for it, and all of a sudden, like a thunderbolt, a criminal chooses to victimize them. I see the ugliest side of life and the pain people go through for no reason. I've seen children who go to sleep in their own beds to become victims of unspeakable torture and abuse. Women murdered by the very men who say they love them. But I want you to think of crime in a different way today for the next few minutes. What if your entire country became a crime scene? What if your entire country were the victim of a crime? Welcome to America 2023. We all grew up in the America that Ronald Reagan talked about, that shining city on the hill, the richest, the most educated, the most powerful military. People were healthy, education was stellar. The cities were world-class industrial hubs, not just for industry, but for art and culture. But today, our natural and national unity has been compromised, and we have suffered assaults to our bedrock principles, to a capitalist market-based economy that is trashed as inappropriate, the principles of freedom of religion and freedom of speech as not being necessary and not respected. Our world-class schools now spread indoctrination, and many of the seniors who are graduating can't even read or do math. And at the top of all of this is a visceral symbol of our national decline, if ever there were one: Joe Biden. Never, never in the history of this country has one president done so much to damage a country in so little time. And at times, his actions have been so destructive that they are indistinguishable from what a foreign saboteur would do. He has thrown away America's energy independence, and he's put us on our knees to our enemies, to Iran, to China. He has taken away the incentive to work, and he has replaced it with a more socialist system where rewards are given out based upon your sex, your orientation, your skin, having nothing to do with your ability. How do we even get these people into office? Freedom of speech was suppressed, and that's how Joe Biden got into office. They suppressed our ability to talk to each other about a laptop that was a treasure trove of information for prosecutors, of information of an organized criminal enterprise that is at the top of our federal government. The assault was coordinated. It was coordinated. I'm sorry, I don't have my own microphone. I should have asked for that. It was coordinated by the mainstream media, by big tech, and by the Department of Justice, FBI, and the Central Intelligence Agency. We know that based on those people who knew nothing about Hunter Biden's laptop, that the election might have been different based upon the number of people who would have voted differently had they been able to have access to that information. These so-called progressives are rolling us back. I love you. Thank you. Oh, I can't stand at a podium. It makes me crazy. These so-called progressives are rolling us back to medieval times, to the age of Marxism and socialism, which is not what we need to survive in this country. And this does not happen by accident. This happens by plan. It happens by design. It's a product of a series of crimes that have been committed against each and every one of you and have been committed against America as a nation. There are moral crimes. There are physical crimes of assaults on our national resources sold to our enemies, assaults on the jobs of Americans who can no longer work in the coal industry, but instead we're supporting an industry in China where they're increasing the production of coal-powered plants so they can create lithium for our electric vehicles, which nobody I know wants. And let me tell you, it is a true crime story, and nobody knows better than I do. But unlike the regular criminals that I dealt with in the trenches for 30 years, they do it in front of our face. They don't hide it. If you don't like it, you better be quiet. You keep your mouth shut. You're a racist. You're just a phobe of some sort. It doesn't matter. You're a xenophobe, whatever they want to call you. And the mystery, though, happens in the cover-up. But unfortunately for them, we know about the cover-up. They can do everything they can to tell us that a laptop of Hunter Biden's that talks about a 10% commission to the big guy, that we can now connect with the fact that this guy by the name of Walker set up shell corporations, which got $10 million in it, that went to 9 different Bidens, the wife, the ex-wife, the ex-lover, the lover, the daughter. I mean, why? Because they couldn't put the money in one account. This is money laundering. That's how they do it. It's money laundering. And Rob Walker admitted it. He told it to the whistleblower. And then you got Bobolinsky. Here's a guy who's a retired Navy veteran, lieutenant. This guy is a nuclear engineer. He tells us Joe Biden met with the Chinese at that CEFC company. And so does Walker. Walker tells us the same thing. But Joe Biden lies to you. I don't know anything about my son's business. And the first question you ask is, why would someone lie about that? Because it's consciousness of guilt. They have something to cover up. And that's what we've seen. And they distract you with noise about Russia and racism. Shame on them and shame on us if any of us bought it. And we fought with each other. Donald Trump is a Putin puppet. He's a Russian asset. That's nonsense. And we find out from Durham. Durham report comes out. Does the mainstream media report on it? Absolutely not. We find out from Durham, Hillary made up the Russian hoax. She told Obama and Biden about it. She told them she was going to do it. She paid for the dossier with campaign money. She didn't get prosecuted for that, but I don't have time to get into that. I just want you to know that there is one woman who split this country apart, and it was Hillary Clinton. She had us fighting with each other, family members fighting with each other, telling him, yes, he is, no, he isn't, yes, he is, no, he isn't. And finally, that sack of Schiff, Adam Schiff, he finally got censored. And I'm tired of all of them. You know why? They don't care about you, and they don't care about me. They go about and commit their crimes, and they are happy to ignore you. And the biggest problem that we have today in America, the America that I grew up in that was so beautiful, is that we've lost our sovereignty. We are no longer a country with borders. We are not a sovereign nation. We are literally a global landing spot with benefits for anyone who demands entry into this country. If you want to come here, you're entitled to come here, get whatever you want, and we're not entitled to even know who you are. And they don't fingerprint them, DNA them, even the kids they don't DNA. And even a federal judge says, you can't let these people out into the interior of the United States unless and until you give them an alien registration number. They were just letting them out, just putting them in. And then they want to complain that the Republican governors, oh, they're sending them, they're racist, they're this and that. It's nonsense. And then they tell us the police are serial racist murderers. That is such a lie, but you see, it's part of the plan. In order to have chaos and anarchy, you must defund the police. And the government is no longer providing the first order of government, which is the protection of its citizens. And then when we have someone who steps up because the police aren't there because it takes too long for 911 to get there, and somebody like a Marine veteran, a 24-year-old, steps in to fill in the vacuum, Danny Penny, they charge him with homicide. Shame on them. And they silence us, and they shut us down, and they call it misinformation, and they make up garbage about COVID, and they call us the deniers, and they have a ministry of truth. Truth and justice, are you kidding? There have been 300 articles in medical journals since COVID that deny everything they were talking about. Shame on them. And what did COVID tell you? It described for you their intense affinity, affection for that totalitarian instinct to step on you, to shut you down, to keep you in your house, to not let you go out, to not let you go to church. It shut down churches, small businesses, but it allowed strip clubs and liquor stores as essential businesses. That's not the America that the founding fathers wanted for this country. And I'll give you another one, and I'm going to be good. Don't worry, I'm not going to take that long. I'll give you another one that infuriates me. The Calvary Church in Las Vegas, during COVID, they wouldn't let more than 50 parishioners in the church. They appeal, they appeal, they appeal. They go up to the Supreme Court. And I think amicus curiae, I'm not quite sure how it actually happened, but the multiplex theaters and the casinos joined in the in the appeal to the Supreme Court. Our United States Supreme Court comes down and they say, if the casinos want to open, have at it. It's a game of chance, go for it. If you want to go to the 18 theater multiplex, have at it, good for you. But the Calvary Church, only 50 of you can go in the church at one time. That is the United States Supreme Court, and I am damn ashamed of that decision. And on an international scale, the additional crimes against America. We have a Chinese spy craft that we knew about. Don't let anybody tell you they didn't know about it, okay? I mean, you can believe they're stupid, and I agree with that. But there's another piece to it. They hovered over America, and then the Aleutian Islands, and then came down and hovered over the intercontinental ballistic missile sites. 2 people in Montana called up. They said, gee, what is that? And then we wait for it to get all the information it needs, and then we blow it up, okay? Joe Biden is at a fundraiser. This guy actually says, we embarrassed them, and Xi Jinping is really mad because we embarrassed them by taking it down. Are you stupid? China has 9 police stations in this country, 9 that are connected to Beijing, that they keep their eyes on Chinese nationals in this country. And they now are connected to Cuba 90 miles from here. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but Hunter Biden, you know, poor Hunter. You know, he's a drug addict. He's disturbed. He's got all these problems. But I got to tell you, you have to give Hunter credit. There aren't that many degenerate, sex-addicted drug addicts in the world who can cook crack, smoke crack, perform lewd sex acts, and film the whole thing on the phone at the same time. That takes real talent. It's worth all those millions. All right. My life, as I started, for more than 3 decades, was fighting for and defending the innocent victims of crime, the silent victims, the ones who suffer quietly through agonizing trauma. Now, it's a different fight. Now it's time to fight for a different victim of crime, America. Because America is worth it. It's time to stand up for America. It's time to stand up for the bedrock principles enunciated in the Declaration of Independence of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is time for us to defend this country because we can't let them get away with it. And I'm not going to let them get away with it. I wrote a book called Crimes Against America because I'm so fed up with their crimes. Are you going to let them get away with it? Are you going to let them take down the republic of the greatest nation on earth? Are you going to let them take God out of America? Are you going to let them take In God We Trust out of my courtroom? Are you going to let them sexualize your children? Indoctrinate your children to make them think that they're oppressors? It's time to call them out, identify them, prosecute them, and get rid of them. It's time to stop the takedown of our republic, to send the liberal, socialist, condescending, arrogant, dictatorial, totalitarian leftists back where they came from, back to the history books of irrelevance, so that the America of Ronald Reagan, the shining city on the hill, can come back to America. God bless you.